What are you texting?
Yeah, I'm
texting right before we start?
Texting Craig.
Well, we're texting as we're starting,
Okay.
so. No, this is the start.
Oh.
You I'm putting you on blast at the beginning of the episode.
I'm texting Craig.
Yeah, why? We're trying to start a professional podcast here. It's not professional at all. We had everything break right when we started. Yeah. It's always like, it's all working, and then it's a Jenga tower that just falls over, and you have to pick up all the pieces and go, hey, it's fine.
Yeah, look, I stream with my buddies D&D on Sundays, and we arrive an hour early.
Oh my gosh.
Like when we used to play and we didn't stream, we would arrive and the game would start.
Yes.
And now it's like we use that hour every time. I can't think of a single time where we didn't use that almost that entire hour.
We do.
And every time I'm like, oh wow, we're actually we're gonna start early this week. Then instead what happens is some crazy third thing goes wrong that I've never seen before, and then that eats up 20 minutes.
A new abomination arises from the horrors of tech, and it just goes, you must defeat me today.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Well, we've got Zee Bashew today on the podcast. Yay, thank you, Zee. Who are you? What do you do?
I am the animator of the animated spellbook, and I am the person in charge of the Zee Bashew channel.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good job.
I do D&D stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I usually talk pretty well, but my ideas might not be the best. But I sound convincing. And but I sound convincing, so I've made a career out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I was on an episode of your animated spellbook at one point where we sat and talked about Sorcerers for a little while. That was a lot of fun.
That was super fun.
Yeah, and that was great. So we've got to chat and talk before, but I've mentioned this on that video, but I was like, before I really started even my videos, or even when I was doing my videos, always been a huge fan of your videos. I would send them to my friends. I watch them in my downtime. I love them. They're great. So big fan. So this is like, yay.
Thank you, man.
You're on my
dig your
thing.
Videos.
This is cool.
Thanks, man. I dig your videos too. I remember when you first started, I was like, oh man, this kid is gonna take the fuck over. Like, we're gonna have to make room for him. We're fucked.
Oh, thanks. That sounds, bad, but I definitely take it as a compliment. So I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
No.
I like.
Yeah.
I've moved on from being terrified of you to just enjoying your content.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how like I think most of the community of all of us have kind of moved in there. I feel like when like a couple of years ago, like when I started, we were all like very distant. We're like, oh yeah, that guy over there, he does his thing. And now we all know each other. It's crazy. Like I'll talk to this YouTuber and he knows these three other guys, and he knows this guy who started his own channel, but it turns out this person knows him, and it's like, we're all friends. This is great. So,
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Well, after a few cons, I think everybody kind of knows. Well, but I only really know you. And the web DM guys, like that well. I mean, and it's usually because of events like this. But how long have you two been doing this podcast?
Since the beginning of this year, about January is when we started it. So this is like episode 11, maybe 12. I don't know. I haven't numbered them, so I'm not sure. But we wanted to just sit and talk and have some fun with people that we know and people in the community, and we're like, let's do this.
Yeah,
so
we wanted to start it in like September of last year, and then it just got too crazy with our wedding and stuff. So we were like, after the wedding, and then it took a few more months.
And then like the first episode was like, you were like, I feel kind of sick, and then the next week she tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
So,
oh God.
Like the second episode. Yeah. Yeah, she's all right now.
I'm fine.
We're all good, but it was weird. Weird time.
Well,
but,
when was that?
About February, I think. February.
End of January, I think.
Oh, this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. We're both going to get fully vaccinated next week. So, that's exciting. Going to be real good. And It's looking pretty great. So, what you been up to, Zee Bashew?
Not a ton. I guess I've just been. I got stung on the leg by something, and it got fucked up. I don't know what happened. I was in the ER yesterday, so I might be a little drowsy.
Oh my god! You okay?
But, yeah, I'm fine. I just have to take like a bunch of antihistamines and
like
stuff.
a spider bit you?
Don't know. I was feeling real confident because I just finished a workout and I was feeling pretty good about it, and I was on a scooter, and then something kicked off of the road and hit me in the leg, and then it burnt like hellfire, and then I thought it was a cigarette butt. I knocked it off, and then I got a second dose of venom from what was left of whatever was in my leg. So I had to pull over to the side of the road. I nearly crashed.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So anyway, but
dang,
yeah,
that's crazy.
The last couple days.
And you don't even like know what happened. That was like, oh, this is my day now.
No, I mean, I have no idea what it was, but then I was just like, well, it feels like a bee sting or like,
okay.
And the thing I pulled out looked like either a pedipalp or some kind of stinger. So I was like, I don't know, whatever. So I tossed it. I should have kept it actually, and then I would have had time to analyze it. But I was on the side of the highway, so I was like, I need to just get the fuck out of here.
Jeez, dang, that's crazy. I have never been stung by an insect. I am terrified of them. I used to not be that scared of insects, and now if I got actually sorry, I have been stung, but I have been bit by a baby black widow. And I know it was a baby black widow because we found it. Wasn't it?
It was just a black widow.
It was a little one. It was like this big. Black widows are normally like this big. It was this big.
Yeah.
It bit you.
Well, it bit me, and I felt really sick, and I was like, I should go to the ER, and they gave me some stuff, and I was fine. But ever since then, that event was not scary at all. I was like, I was a little worried, but then once I got to the hospital, I was fine, and it didn't bother me. I was like, that was weird. But ever since then, terrified of spiders because now they pose a threat.
I'm sure.
And now I'm like, if I see, I used to be like, hey, there's a spider right there. Now I'm like, no, I have to leave. Like it's like a genuine phobia.
Yeah, I used to live in an attic. When I was a kid, my room was the attic, and it was infested with bats, and so bats would fly through all the time, and I would just chase them out or like knock them out with a towel and then take the towel and toss them off the porch. Well, not the porch, the roof, but they were fine. Like I wasn't killing the bats.
Yeah.
And then I listened to like I think a Radio Lab about 5 or 6 years ago where they were talking about how often bats have rabies.
Yeah.
And it just fucked up my interactions with bats for the rest of my life.
No.
Now I'm like I'm still getting them out of the house, but I have a little too much fear of them. I don't think that well, I don't know.
But rabies is so scary though. Yeah. Right? It's terrifying because you don't know that you could have it, and then by the time you know that you have it, it's like, yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, the symptoms are terrible. You like can't drink water. Like what?
Yeah. You just It's a terrifying thing to get. So
yeah, definitely.
But I kind of wish I didn't know. I feel like your life is better when you don't know.
Yeah, definitely. But then also you could have got a rabies and then maybe died.
True. That's true. You know what it really is, though? It's a laziness about going to the hospital. Like, because actually, if a bat bites you, you just go and get a shot.
Yeah.
Then again, okay, this isn't medical advice. I forgot. I just was talking to you guys. Don't trust me. I'm a dumbass. And this is what I was talking about before, where I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm convincing. So do not take my advice about life stuff. It's okay with D&D. The worst thing that'll happen is you'll like piss off your friend.
Yeah. Well, I've always heard that Zee Bashew is a medical genius. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm refuting those claims a little bit. I think that if you get bit by a bat, just ignore it and
just go to the hospital and get a shot.
Just get a shot. You'll
be
fine.
Any animal that lives outside that is not yours, or maybe if it is yours,
They can still have rabies,
go to the hospital. Go to the hospital. If you let your pets outside. And
wasn't it a
bite
bat that started COVID?
I think so, yeah.
Well, not a bat, but like the bat had a disease and then somebody ate it. And I don't fucking know. Bats.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's pretty cool. Day in the life of Zee is getting attacked on the side of the road. That's
yeah. So that was fun. Anyway, so that was fine for a couple of days, and then like yesterday, it got real bad. All of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I should probably go get it checked out."
Maybe I should.
Well, because I thought it was a wasp, man. I've been stung by wasps my whole fucking. I'm from the Midwest. Really? It's fucking. My whole childhood was yellow jackets stinging me. Like,
ugh. No.
One time when I was a kid, I fell off of my porch because I had one of those old school porches with the like slat, little tiny mid-sized fence. I fell over into a in the area we call them jagger bushes that had a thorn bush that had a fucking yellow jacket nest.
Oh my God, he just fell into it.
So it was like, ow, ow. No. Like, there's just like, just
terrible.
So like, is like a wasp sting worse than a bee sting, or is a bee sting worse than a wasp sting? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I've mostly been stung by yellow jackets and wasps. Bees don't sting as often.
Yeah, I think bees. Bees can only like sting you once. I think yellow jackets can like bite you, can't they?
They can.
Or wasps can bite you.
I don't know.
I've been wasps also just hate people. I've been stung by more wasps than I've been stung by bees.
I've never been stung. I've only been bitten by a single spider.
Oh, well.
But it's also because I act like a little
blessed
baby.
life.
Yeah, a blessed life of staying inside. And then as soon as I hear any kind of insect, I'm like, I'm going inside. Yeah. So terrifying.
Yeah, I'm the one in the relationship who catches the bug and takes it outside. He can't, like little insects like a moth, Jacob can't handle anymore.
If it's a fly, if it's of that like species, like it's like gross and eats trash, no problem. I will destroy that creature. If it is or a mosquito, I hate mosquitoes. Yeah. They can die in a hole. We've been like backpacking before where we've been out in the mountains for a couple of days and it's like we picked the worst times to go and like it's just bombarded by mosquitoes. Awful. But
it's always like that, like because I lived in LA for ages and we would go camping and it was like the only time it ever fucking rained. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it's just because we were going into a slightly different biome because we usually go like up in the mountains or whatever. But I mean, I have incredible memories of setting up a tent in the dark, in the rain, and then obviously it was the first time I'd set it up, so I fucked it up, and then we basically sledded inside the damn thing in the middle of the night because there was enough anyway. But where were you guys hiking?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask. We have gone. I've gone three times at we went with like a group of friends and we went to it's called Dinky Lakes. It is near Shaver. It's near Shaver Lake, which is pretty north. Okay. So it's it's pretty far up there. Where have you gone?
I don't remember.
That's fair.
Yeah, I like at least for that stuff, it was the same campground a couple times. We went with a buddy of ours, Rainier, and he loved doing it, and he showed up prepared. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it was basically like meet me there, have a tent, and we'll have a good time. And so my wife and I would go up.
Have a tent. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had like a bear encounter one time. Apparently that's awesome.
What happened? You had a bear encounter? I've never encountered any sort of animal.
So the second time I went there was on Halloween, and I had shaved the center of my head.
Sick.
As part of a Halloween costume.
That's cool.
But I was like, whatever, it's fine. When we get to the campground, I'll shave the rest. And again, it started raining. This time we at least sort of set the tent up correctly, we thought. And the tent filled with water. And my head was all fucked up because I shaved it on a campground in the dark while it was raining and cold. So my skin was like, "Don't shave me!" You know what I mean? Like if it's warm out, it's easy. Mm-hmm. But not when it's cold. So anyway, all of our clothes got wet and like muddy and fucked up. And so we just got trimmed down further and further and further into our clothes until it was the next morning. And we woke up and we looked like, you know how in cowboy movies they're like going through the countryside?
Yeah.
And then they run across a camp of like weird hillbilly outlaws.
They're like half shaved head. They're wet.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Clothes.
And I was wearing like I can't even remember what was on my feet. I think I was wearing like 3 pairs of socks that a pair of pajama pants was tucked into, and then like some sandals over top of it, and a weird like hat. I had like a weird hat on. Everything was muddy and dirty. Everybody else looked the same. And that's when the guy who we didn't really know that well pulled out a banjo. And so he was playing banjo stuff. And
at that point, it's just awesome. At that point, you guys are cooler than anybody else camping nearby. Like, if I saw that, I'd be like, those people.
Those guys know what they're doing. But actually what happened was we didn't know at all what we were doing. And we just, in one day, had been so stripped of our sort of like, our comforts that we looked, that we looked insane. But anyway, so we were cooking our breakfast, and as the banjo was going, my wife, who's Afrikaans, froze and went, "Disappear," and we were like, "What?" And she was like, "Disappear!" And then she got up, and Rainier is also South African. So he's like, "It's a bear, fuck." And he turned around, and there's a bear that was like slowly coming towards us. So we did our best not to panic and run, but we all got up, locked ourselves in our cars. And the bear came and did one of the funniest things ever to me, which is we had graham crackers, and that's what it was interested in. It went after the graham crackers. And then an army guy rolled up and scared it away with a pan. It wasn't that. It's not that. The build up to the story is like, oh, there's a bear. Oh, it just gets scared away by some.
Left. Yeah. Do you remember what kind of bear it was?
I think just the kind that doesn't like hurt people.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a bear, so you know.
Yeah, it was medium sized. It wasn't like a grizzly or anything. It was all right. I think it was a brown bear.
It's still terrifying.
But we told the campground people, were like, "Hey, there's a bear on the premises, just so you know." And they were like, "No extra charge." We were like, "That's not the response we were expecting, but okay."
Nice.
Anyway,
that's crazy. That's a really interesting story. I would love for that to be turned. I'm turning it into our hobby, but that just to me just sounds like a D&D encounter where you just are walking in the middle of the forest and you just see a bunch of weirdos just hanging out, and you're like, oh, they're playing a banjo. Yeah. So that's really, really awesome. Yeah, I've never really seen much animals out there. I'm always terrified that in the middle of the night I'm going to get attacked by a bear whenever we're camping, but never happens. No. So. Yeah.
Again with the bad advice. Depending on where you're at, I mean, I'm not going to give. The guy who scared the bear off was just like, they don't like loud noises. So if you're confident and you make a lot of loud noises, they'll go away. Unless it's the wrong kind of bear. And then
That's the thing is I've always heard like if you stand your ground, bears won't attack you. But I think that's false. I think they totally will.
I think you got to know your bear.
That is what the sort of surviving con man of a bear encounter tells everybody. Right?
You just hold
your ground.
You just stand there. It won't even hit you.
Fuck with you. Don't look over here as they just... And then, the last thing that person hears is like footsteps crunching into the leaves in the distance.
Yeah, well, bears are terrifying though because they can do everything, and they also weigh like 1 million pounds, and they you can't easily kill them. Like there's no easy way. Like even if you shotgun blast it to the face, it might still be alive because it's just that strong. And they can swim, they can climb, they can run, they can do everything.
I guess. Okay, well. Are you camping with a shotgun?
No. I don't know. I'm just saying that if you were, or if there was one near you.
Yeah.
You just can't. Okay, it's your group. You guys are all wet, and you're wearing the hat, and the banjo's playing, and you also have shotguns.
Oh yeah, but at that point, those are those like old Winchester. I don't know enough about guns to make this joke. I realized midway through it.
Yeah, me neither. All right, cool. So why don't we jump into some questions that we got from all of you guys who are watching the show? Thanks, everybody. So we got a question from Marion who asks, what are your favorite themes to explore in your campaigns? Presumably Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. Favorite themes. So that's like kind of vague, but like themes is in like tropes, because tropes are cool, or themes is in like a genre theme sort of, because I love very typical fantasy where it's just really basic. There's a dragon and it's doing a bad thing and you got to go stop it, but then I like to take and make it a little bit more complicated than that, just by adding like, oh, and also there's maybe undead, who knows. I think another theme I really like is I like redemption arcs a lot for characters. That one's really cool. I just like a character that goes from being like maybe bad or kind of an asshole that becomes like good towards the end. I always think that's really great. What about you guys? You guys any favorite D&D themes? Themes you like to put in your campaigns?
I mean, I do.
Oh yeah. You're like, what? I don't know why. I expect you to be like, I do. I'm not going to tell you.
No. I listen. I'm happy to. But yeah, I guess I like the idea of a dangerous feeling world, and hopelessness and fear. Those are sort of the things that we mostly explore.
I agree. I love that.
Yeah,
it sounds awful, but I love it.
It's not for everybody, but it's the only way to kind of like get the balance back. Sorry, I just like get the balance back, because my group is so comedic that in order for there to feel like there's any kind of stakes, you need you need there to be like, it almost needs to be overamped, because they are constantly diffusing every situation by joking about it.
Yeah.
Which I like. I love. I want that to happen. But yeah. So those are the main ones.
That's always the hard part, is like when you have like a horror game, or you want a game to be like really downtrodden. You always have your players that are kind of like joking. Like it was literally yesterday we were playing in Craig's game actually, and it's like this. We're kind of doing a little like Call of Cthulhu in this D&D game, and it's real cool. Sure. But I mean, we're making tentacle jokes every 3 seconds, and it's real
of course,
fun.
And that's diffusing everything.
Yeah, of course. But it like there are bits where like we'll get a description, or we'll talk to this character and we'll be like, oh shit, okay, maybe we should take this a little seriously, And so it like I think that players who are joking around, they are thinking about And they are feeling kind of like the tenseness and the horror. And I think, kind of like you said, it's almost a way like to like ward it off. Sometimes it's almost like a coping defense mechanism to make jokes. So
yeah, fully.
Yeah, definitely. What about you? Do you have any?
I really want to run like a horror game for our friends, but I have a lot of like DM fear, so it's gonna take me a while. And I've started writing some stuff, but
You have DM before.
I have for children. Can't run my horror game for them.
We're basically children.
That's true.
We're just dummies.
Yeah.
Just a complete like horror game. I'd love to run. Because we've played like Curse of Strahd and a little bit of Icewind Dale, which is more like horror, but just like get in.
I agree.
Real spooky.
I like the dark, the dark games. Those are always really cool.
Someday.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Curse of Strahd kicks ass.
It does.
It's so fun. But I remember when somebody jumped into our group. I think it was Sean Isaacson, and he was like, I really want to play Curse of Strahd. I didn't get a chance to. We almost started, and then we didn't play it. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because we can do that. I would love to facilitate this for you. But just make sure you're sure before we do this.
Yeah.
And then the reports back were like, it was soul crushing, and I would never do it again. But it was super fun, and I have a lot of good memories.
Yeah, we that was like one of I don't know why, it was like one of those like we were just kind of in the moment, we weren't even really thinking about it, and then when we finished our Curse of Strahd game, we always look back and we're like, that game was so fun.
Yeah,
it was so cool. And I don't know what it is about that one. I think it just does a lot of little things right, and that's what makes it a better whole. But also the theme of vampires and gothic horror is just really cool. So Qme asks, what inspired your art style? I think this is more directed at you, Zee.
Oh, okay. So these aren't just general, like people know who you're.
They know it's you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What inspired my art style? It was, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name now. 1 second.
No, you're cool. Yeah, I normally put up a tweet and I tell people who's in the episode when we talk about it.
I feel so bad that I've forgotten her name. God damn. I think
my favorite. Sorry. What inspired my art?
Yeah.
Did you find it?
I did. Okay, so
go for it.
I saw it in some blog somewhere. Old Tove Jansson work where she had done the old. She'd done art for The Hobbit, and some of her early sketches. I think it's Tove Jansson. I'm almost sure, but some of her early sketches for The Hobbit were in a different style than I think she ended up settling on. And I saw those and I was like, man, this is such a cool shape language and like way of thinking about lines. And it's so much not the way people draw right now. And so, I had just seen that. And then I was doing, an animated spell book on spell slots, I think. And I designed a little character, like a little Dragonborn character in that style. And I was like, man, this is really cool. This is like an interesting thing. So I basically took that and then I started to take some of the old D&D white box and old D&D manuals art and just take a look at it. I mean, I obviously didn't copy it, but I was looking at like these almost ink block style
I was about to say like the really harsh shadows and they're like kind of jagged, Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the beginning of it. And then since then, I've just slowly been drifting back to the way that I actually just naturally draw.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you look at some of the early episodes, it's all with this sort of off-white stuff. And they're like very meticulously done weird little like cross hatching sections, and now it just looks it just looks like a
I mean, they
cartoon.
both look good though. I love both styles. I've seen more of your newer ones where you're like kind of in the game store. Those are really cool, by the way. I love those.
Thank you.
But those old ones almost have like a very storybook kind of feel to them. They're really, really cool. I love that style, and I could totally see how you got like that inspiration from both of those. That's really cool.
Totally. I was weaponizing nostalgia at the beginning.
Yeah, it's a very, very good weapon.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the entire entertainment industry agrees at the moment, which is like fun, but also sometimes I'm like, it would be cool if we spent this money on a new property. I understand why we're just doing a remake, but it'd be interesting if we explored some new concepts.
Of course. Well, that's what's cool about what you did with yours is that you just said it was something nobody was really doing at the current time, which is always super cool. So the fact that you were able to kind of make something almost kind of new about it, because to me it looked really modern and it looked like your own thing. Like I'd never seen anything like it before, and I think when you take it and you make it and you turn it into something else, and it's not unrecognizable, but it's your own by the end. That's just beautiful. That's incredible. So.
Well, thank you.
Better than just remaking a movie and for the 8th time and being like, look, it's but it's the same.
to be fair, listen. To be fair though, as generous as that is, I do think that's what I am doing the remake thing, because we're playing around with Dungeons and Dragons, which is this. I mean, I don't want to say it's an ancient property, but it's been around for a really long time. Yeah. It's not that we're, Blades in the Dark channels or some new cutting edge thing. Yeah. It's really it's the original one, sort of. I mean, completely. It's the original tabletop RPG, and it's got a lot. It's a mixed thing, and I think this is part of the reason why people do these remakes and stuff, and why we are sort of re-exploring the same content over and over and over again, is algorithms and searchability. It sucks, but it's hard to make something entirely new
that people
and have people find it.
Yeah.
So D&D becomes this kind of flagpole for everybody who actually wants to talk about. I just want to talk about tabletop RPGs. I love D&D. I think 5th edition fucking kicks ass. But also, I don't know. This is sort of an explanation, but it's like, this is why we talk. The reason we talk about D&D is because it allows us to have a conversation.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, and we're even getting to that point where a lot of people kind of have D&D fatigue, and I see people all the time who are like, play a different role-playing game, and I'm like, I do sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
I do. It's just
that
we
do
people
all the time.
Really like D&D.
They do,
yeah. And it you're right, and it does suck because it's like, as much as I like talking about RPGs. I love D&D, obviously, and I love role-playing games. But I mean, if it's the thing that I like to talk about, and also it does make money, then it's like, that's the thing I'm gonna talk about. So yeah,
sure, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's a tricky thing. I definitely have a couple pet projects that I'm getting ready to do that are like not even remotely related to D&D.
Yeah.
And I anticipate that they will probably not do as well as animated spellbooks, but I sort of just would love to do some other stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you love it and you put your passion into it and you appreciate what you're making, it's gonna slap. It's gonna be great.
Oh, for sure. And also like, I'm sure you're the same. My metric for whether or not something is succeeding is so fucked up now.
Yeah.
After doing this for a while, because I remember when a video first got like 40,000 views, I was like, that is so many more times. Like, that's like 4 times the population of my hometown.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And now if a video does 40,000 views, I'll be like, my career is over.
I remember the first time I got 10,000 views on a video, and I was like, oh my God. And now if it's like 10,000 views, but only in an hour, I'm like, guess I'm a failure today.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man,
that also, that's revealing of how quickly you could, I guess you're making content, is that it's only today. If that happens to me, I'm like, well, okay, the last 2 weeks were a complete waste of fucking time. Cool. Oh, man. But they weren't. I mean, that's the thing, though. I think if we can keep, I don't know. At the end of the day, like if you're enjoying doing it, then that should be the only metric that really matters. I know some people don't even look at their metrics at all. They're just like, whatever comes in. It's going to be a mystery.
Yeah, exactly. I try not to, although I feel like my subconscious just does it. It just goes, well, I saw this view, and I'm like, let's not. And if honestly, if it really started to tank and I hated it, I think I'd still keep doing it because I love it so much. I love making videos. It's
same.
I sometimes, some days I dread it and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this because it's like work. But man, every week I'm like, all right, what am I making this week? All right, what am I doing? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know I love doing this.
You need something to get the weird thoughts out of your head.
Yeah, there's just these voices and they're like, talk about Lord of the Rings for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So got another question here from Zav, creator of D&D Waifus, who continuously asks really good questions on this podcast. What's a cool homebrew spell or feat you like to add to your games or would like to see added in the game in general? Totally not asking so I can steal the answers to my own game. Absolutely never do that. See, that's the beautiful part of making content for RPGs like D&D is that you can just throw your ideas out there and then you can just go, that's in my game now. Yeah. And nobody can stop you, which is great.
Yeah. What? Wait, cool new?
Were those like some of the
adjectives?
Okay, so I can't. Feat, maybe even like a rule that you add into your games.
I can't just say critical failures and then leave it at that.
Critical failures. Wait, do you do them differently or do you?
Yeah, look, if somebody, especially if an NPC does, but if somebody rolls a 1, it's an event.
That's awesome.
Do you know what I mean? It's not just like you miss. It's like something. That's also part of the reason. That's also part of the reason why I think it's a comedic group. It's always like it's a series of unfortunate stacking failures that slowly evolves into eldritch horror somehow. Which if you watch my Cold Road campaign, that is a typical campaign. That's just awesome. Like an adventure that was planned as a one-shot that turns into like a 3-month thing where the world is in peril at the end because so many sort of small mistakes have added up and like anyway. But yeah. So awesome. Yeah.
I like doing critical fails sometimes. I've sometimes used to have like a table where like little things would happen, but over time my players, I have like 2 of my friends who like them, and then everybody else is like, like, guys, it's fun, and they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, fine. So we don't really do them anymore, but like sometimes I'll whip it out and I'll be like, something awful is gonna happen now. So I like to surprise my players sometimes with that and just be like, oh, you're flying and you rolled a natural 1 in your spell. Okay, make a dex save. See if you just stay in the air. And it's like, I didn't know that could be a thing. And it's like, it is now. So
that's interesting. So in that scenario, would they be rolling for like they're targeting something and then they...
Yeah, so maybe like, or maybe it could be like a concentration check too. They can make like a con save to see if they can keep concentrating on the fly, or if they're near other things, they have to make a dex save to grab on and hold on to it or something like that because they could have fallen. So I can see like that.
Listen, I have a sense that you're a DM who earns that. But I can see if I was playing at a table with a DM who didn't earn that, I would be like, fuck you.
I have a 5% chance just to fall every time I attack while I'm flying. I hate you, Jacob.
Okay, if I roll a crit success, do I get my fucking spell slot back? What's going on?
So, okay, then what do you normally do with like a crit fail?
No. I don't want you to feel attacked.
No. I don't. I genuinely am curious because my players fucking hate it, and I want to know how to make it fun.
Okay, so generally speaking, the crit fails are on attack rolls, or on some sort of skill check that they've elected to do. It's usually when there's some unnecessary flourish. Of
course.
Just because of the comedy of the way
when you want to do a backflip off of a chandelier with two hand axe throws, is
precisely the time the math rocks, as my buddy Dave calls them, fail you. But so generally speaking, it'll be something like dropping a weapon,
all right,
or generally, mostly it's getting knocked prone or hitting a friend.
Oh yeah. That I like that one a lot. Hitting a friend is always fun because not only does it like not only is it super funny, but it's always like a little role play bit you can have too, where it's just like, ow, sorry. Like
yeah, exactly. Generally speaking, I think it's fine to reduce the damage on something like that, where it's just like, you just clip your buddy and he takes 3 damage or something like that.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's something else that happens. The reason that this is okay though, I think, is that it happens with the enemies a ton. And when the enemies get a critical failure, I have kid gloves on a little bit with the players' crit failures.
Sure.
The enemies' crit failures are catastrophic. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll fully hit someone with 100% force, or like they'll do something that'll make one of the other NPCs like lose a turn.
It's like Sauron at the beginning of Lord of the Rings when he's like sweeping down with the mace and hitting all of the dudes below him, but it's just his own forces. They're just flying 30 feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Distance.
Yeah.
And it's like, there went those 3 goblins.
Yeah. That also, I think there's a lot of stuff that's fun to apply just to NPCs. Like, I think massive damage is a really fun one to just apply to NPCs, where if you hit them for more than half their HP, it's something in the DMG, then they just drop.
You just kill them instantly because you do so much damage.
If you do more than half their HP in one hit, they hit the ground.
Nice.
Which can be really fun for like if you've got a lot of tiny forces and stuff, and then that almost brings back like 4 E minions. But what about Yins, guys?
It's fine. We'd play with massive damage as well. But it's like if you take half your health, and it's anybody. You have to make a con save, and if you beat the 15, then and you're still alive, then we roll system shock. So it's like you took so much damage that you're reeling from the pain. And so it's never anything too terrible. The worst is like you're stunned, and like the best is like you can't take reactions. So it's anywhere from there. And then, but if you take massive damage and you hit 0, you roll a con save. If you beat the 15, you're fine. If you don't, then it's massive damage, and then it's another table where you can lose anything from. You can have a scar from losing an eye or a limb. And that has never not been fun. Or that has always been fun. I don't know why I said it like that.
Oh, sure.
It like, even when players lose their arms, it's like, it was kind of cool, though.
We had
I got hit by that demon so hard that my arm came off. And it's kind of awesome.
We had a player come into a game like a season in, and like their second game, they got their eye ripped out, and for like a few like
the second
probably
game.
20 games, they were trying to find a way to get their eye back.
And it was cool because it was like a little quest. It was like a little like, I want to get my eyeball back, and eventually, like 10 games later, they finally got it back.
You had made like these like archways that had things written in Elvish on them, and like if an elf walked through, it would heal them. And she was an elf.
If you walked through them, it would cast. It would just heal them.
We couldn't figure it out, and after the game you're like, that would have fixed your eye, but no one figured it out.
She didn't walk through them.
We were
somebody else walked through them and like nothing happened because they weren't an elf, and I was like, it would have fixed your eyeball.
this leads to fun roleplay like that.
Do you have a homebrew rule?
I was gonna say the injury tables.
Oh, really?
Because you would just take them before the tables were a thing. You're like, oh, you don't have legs anymore.
Just 30 damage. Your hand's gone.
It was our fault always. Like you never just were like, you don't have, except for one time.
Would you remember the one time when you fell into your rogue character went into the ethereal plane and then over lava
fell
and
into
then
it? Yeah.
a Nelfeshni grabbed you, dropped you into lava. You went ethereal before you hit the lava, and then with the 6 seconds were able to grab onto a wall, pull yourself up, but not far enough in time to where your feet were still in the lava, and you lost both of your feet.
Yeah, I remember that every day of my life.
Good times.
I found the Nilfishni mini and was like,
fucking hate this thing.
It was my own fault.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Z? Sorry.
I was wiped clean by that story.
The rogue losing their legs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun.
We use some other homebrew. I have a video where I talk about all the homebrew that we use, but we started using this rule. I think Dungeon Dudes had it in a video where it's called Crunchy Crits. Mm-hmm. And the criticals are just better, but for everybody, even bad guys. So the criticals, instead of, I think in normal D&D you roll 2d6. If your attack does a d6, then you roll 2d6. But crunchy criticals is you roll the d6 and then you add the maximum of the second dice. So you'd add 6 and then your modifier. So your crits are just like huge every time. And it's fun because it's always cool now when somebody crits, because it's always like, oh, and they always do like a ton of damage. And it kind of speeds up combat a little bit, which is always good. Yeah. So...
Dungeon Dudes were another channel that I saw them pretty early on, and I was like, they are going to get massive. There's no way that they're not going to succeed if they're coming out of the gate with this kind of production value.
Yeah,
they have great stuff. Yeah, they do, and they've got like a nice setup. They're really thinking about it. I think the Dungeon Coach is somebody who we're going to see a ton from coming up. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos.
Yep,
very strategic.
Totally.
Where he'll make videos based on other creators' stuff, so that he'll get like slipped into the recommendeds, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. We got to meet them at PAX, which was pretty cool. So that was pretty nice. But yeah, I've always like seen their thumbnails and been like, whoa, is this like some professional kind of like, oh damn, they're for real. So it was pretty cool.
All right. That makes sense. So is that the reason that you two you're drifting away from the audio a little bit after a while? Is it like desyncing? Or
is it? Is that what's happening? We just slowly becoming more and more lagged out. It might be.
Yeah. It's like watching riff tracks or something. Like every 20 minutes you gotta.
No, it's more just I don't know if it's connected with. Oh, maybe it is, because this is the program that there's my mouse. This is the program that I'm using to record our thing with. So maybe it is slowly just kind of getting more and more away. But now my camera just turns off every 20 minutes if I don't reset it. So
that's fun.
Yeah, real good. Makes for editing this a blast.
Do you have Sparko Cam?
No, so we are using. I actually did take your advice and use that for a stream a little while ago, and then now we just have like cam links. But what we're doing, what I'm doing with this is EOS, which is the company that made the Canon that I have, my camera. I just have it plugged in with the mini HDMI to USB, and then they have their own program, which is just EOS Capture, and that I can use for like Zoom and stuff. But I can't record and use Zoom at the same time. So what I've done is I've taken the camera and I've put it into Streamlabs. I've put it into the program where I can see myself and record. Then I've screen captured that and then put that into Streamlabs and then use virtual cam with Streamlabs into Zoom. So that's why we're a little laggy, because it's going through a bunch of stuff. So, yeah.
I'm interested to see what that compression looks like.
Well, it actually should be fine, because I'm just recording it directly to the SD, and then that gets synced up. Yeah. So it's okay.
Oh,
but
of course.
It's just weird going to Zoom. It has to go through like a bunch of holes. So, yeah.
For sure.
It normally should be fine.
The kinds of stuff that you end up doing with like voice meter, or I don't know if you play with that at all, but like just to get a stream to work, where you're like, I want them to hear the music and I want the people that I'm streaming to also hear the music, but I don't want their audio to be doubled because it's just monitoring my system sound. It's like,
it's annoying. We in our music, when we live play, we have music that we play too, but so we're in a Zoom call that's for like us and for the video, and then we're also all in a Discord call muted with a bot that plays music so we can adjust it, which is. It gets annoying sometimes when somebody doesn't turn off their notifications though, and you just hear it through the stream. So, but
I'm sure
there's always so many backwards ways in order to do all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, definitely. So, but wait, so what music are you playing though?
I have my own playlists that I have made on Spotify. A lot of them are. I pay for this it's a service called Epidemic Sound. And they have a bunch of licensed music that you can just pay like a couple of bucks a month and you can use their whole library. I use it for my channel too.
What a funny workaround. So, and then they also have their stuff on Spotify, so you can use it.
And it's also on Spotify,
there.
so I just put it in. But what they do is, if basically they kind of just let you use it, you can download it and do whatever you want. But if you have their subscription, they will know not to flag your channel. That's all you're paying for is them not to flag your channel.
Definitely.
And also I have permission from a couple of companies to use certain video game soundtracks like Pillars of Eternity.
Cool.
I got like a written email years ago saying I could do it.
Cool. That's fun.
Any Bethesda licensed stuff. So we have like Skyrim and Fallout and things like that. But
cool. You can actually get sort of like certified, I guess, in a sense, to like use their soundtracks.
Yeah. And they're cool with it too. I have slipped up a few times in the past and been like, oh, it'll be fine if I add this, and then Ubisoft comes in like, oh no, we actually you can't use this one track from Assassin's Creed, and I'm like, okay, sorry Ubisoft. Jeez. So
how do they figure that out? Are they like, okay, well, the stream doesn't say that they're playing Assassin's Creed.
I think that what they do, and I think certain companies do it, certain music publishers do it, and certain don't, because now I have it to a system. I've been doing it for years now. Ubisoft, when they release their music on like Spotify and stuff, they make it into a track that isn't like the game rip file loop. So they know if you're playing it because it transitions and it plays differently than the game. So if you're playing the game on a live stream, they don't flag you because they know it's not their version. Yeah. But if you play that specific track file, then they know. I know that Red Dead Redemption 2 did that with Unshaken, which is like the music that they play in the game. So it's like a tracked music played by like a band who plays this song. And I listened to it repeatedly on Spotify. And then when I played the game, I was like, oh, it's different. And I was like, it's different because of copyright. Because if you play that version, it's okay. But if you play the Spotify version, they're going to flag you. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, to be fair, it's probably... It's fair that they close that.
No. It's totally fair. It's totally fair. I'm not trying to complain or anything.
No. Listen, it's fun to complain about copyright strikes. I have been mostly pretty good about it for a long time, but that's just because I don't know. Copyright is something that I just never want to really deal with.
Yeah.
But I've had licensed tracks get hit.
Oh, weird.
Like, I think it's happened to me on Twitch 2 or 3 times.
Oh, dang.
And usually I'll just pull down the VOD because I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to now go through this whole process of like arguing with someone that I, bought the rights to their music through a third-party provider that like... What's fun though is if you do buy them through third-party providers, I'll email them. I'm like, hey, I don't even talk to Twitch. I'm just like, hey, this track that I licensed from you is getting copyright striked. You two work it out. And then I just move on with my fucking life.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's frustrating because it's like if you paid for it and if it's a thing that you're using, you should just be able to use it. You know, that's the frustrating part. But
well, I think what happens is that sometimes the artists license the music out, and then they think, okay, well, it's on this music library, but obviously that means it's just being used in advertising, right? So anybody who's using my song on Twitch, they definitely didn't license it. And so because I mean, the truth is that, musicians do get super mistreated in kind of new media or whatever.
Yeah, it's really easy to steal music, and I understand why. Like, a lot of YouTubers like to complain about how copyright works. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I'm just kind of saying that in general because I totally get it. I understand that that's really sucks that some people make music and then somebody just takes it and he's like, and then they get a bunch of views and they make a bunch of money, and like it's like, okay, well, that's cool. You just stole that. But I'm not in any way trying to complain. I totally understand why the copyright exists. But yeah, it's weird. And then you've got our holy Lord and Savior, Kevin Macleod, who has carried YouTube on his back for the past years with all of his incredible tracks that are completely free to use.
Yeah, in Computech, baby.
Yep, graph paper and free music. I use some of that for D&D as well, and some of it's pretty good.
It is, yeah. It's in Computech, right?
It's in Compotech? I don't know.
In Compotech, something like that. But
something like that,
Kevin Macleod is going to one day be known as probably one of the most prolific music writers in human history. Easily. Wild.
Go to any YouTube video, and I guarantee you'll hear one of his songs in there.
Who is the dude who was making like really killer funk music for a while? Otis. Something Otis.
Yeah, I don't know, but I recognize what you're saying.
Yeah. Where like after you'd heard it, oh man, what the fuck is it? It's Otis something. Anyway, but once I'd sort of been delving through the YouTube sound libraries for a while, you start recognizing, like, oh, that's a free track.
Yep.
Are you looking it up?
I'm trying to.
Oh, it might be Otis McSomething.
Is it Otis McDonald?
McDonald, I think that's him.
I think you're right.
Let me check.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. Don't get all angry at us in the comments if we don't say something right. Sometimes we don't remember. But yeah, free license.
That's him.
Otis McDonald. Nice.
Yeah. You'll recognize him from his circular glasses and his awesome funk music.
It's cool. All right, so kind of final segment of final, just moving towards the end here. Do you want to?
Are we?
Bust open the genre jar, Spencer?
No, I don't.
No? Okay.
I have to move to get it,
right.
and it's kind of hard.
So, Zee, just want to let you know this jar is completely filled to the brim. Filled absolutely to the. It's so heavy. It's filled to the brim with questions. Ignore the echo. It's a really echoey jar. It's like
fine.
You can hear it how full it is. Completely full to the top. I'm just gonna stick my arm in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And go
effects.
around and maybe grab something out of here. You want to do it?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's grab this one. So. It's stuck to 3 others.
Do you want to do it? No.
Because it's so cool. I can read it off.
Do it. We're going to talk about our favorite... Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Unearthed Arcana?
All right.
Unearthed Arcana.
Okay, you two go first.
Okay.
So I can steal them.
My favorite Unearthed Arcana is Mystic.
No, it's not.
I fucking hate Mystic.
Most
Just kidding. I would say, this is hard.
Yeah, I leave all of the.
Well, a lot of the Unearthed. Okay.
I leave
a lot of
all
the
of
Unearthed
the.
Arcana I like. It's been published. So, like, I was gonna say, like the new one they did, the Hexblood and the shadowy stuff, but they're putting that in Ravenloft. So, I guess I really liked I think my favorite Unearthed Arcana would had to have been Artificer, original OG Artificer. It was so interesting and such a cool class to the point where I was like, I want to build more off of it, and I made my own version of it. And then they released the new one, and the new one is just really good. And I've always loved Artificer. It's been.
Have I been saying that word wrong this whole time?
Yes,
No.
yeah, it's Artificer.
It's Artificer.
No, it's Artificer.
Artificer is also a new one too for me.
Okay, we're gonna play this game. We play it every time we do the podcast. All right, the ruler of the 9 hells. How do you pronounce his name? If you know who I'm talking about. Thank you, Z. Just suck it, Davy Chappie. Suck it. It's not Asmodeus. It's Asmodeus. Asmodeus is correct. Thank you, Z. All right. So the underwater creatures that are they're like slimy and they start with an S. How do you pronounce that one?
It's gelatinous cubes. What are you talking about?
No. They're I say Sahuagin.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Sahuagin?
Yeah, it's a D&D monster. They're called Sahuagin. And some people say Sahuagin, and that's ridiculous. It's Sahugian. It's very clearly Sahuagin.
I was going to say for the Unearthed Arcana bit,
sorry.
I never look at it. I leave
really?
all of that to Davy Chappie,
Yeah,
who you just yelled at. But
sorry, Davy. I apologize. No, I don't. I don't apologize.
It's their domain. I can't touch it.
Davy is the ruler of Unearthed Arcana. So,
okay.
And then,
take that one.
Listen.
Yep.
I have to say the reason I don't call them Sahuagin or Sahuagins is because I never use these dudes because I'm always using the fish people.
The
from
trident. There's Kuatoa. They're better.
So that's what I call them. Kuatoa.
Kuatoa. Yeah. Kuatoa are great.
Kuatoa are just like a little bit more Lovecraftian for me. Well, they are fully because they're from that one story. And they're just the perfect amount of stupid and scary. Anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry for rolling over
gods. No, you're good. Spencer. It's always an argument. I die on the hill of Asmodeus. Anyways,
I don't look at
Arcana to Davy. Do you have an Unearthed Arcana you like, Z, or are you just not like? Do you not really like Unearthed Arcana that much?
Well, okay. I like the idea of Unearthed Arcana. I don't use it much, but I mean, it's open. A lot of my players, like in the current game that we're in, I say sometimes I'll just say like, whatever you want. Yeah. Just let me know beforehand so that I can figure out how to adjust the CR of the enemies that your group is going up against, because D&D isn't balanced. I think that is one of the funniest illusions to me, is this idea that it's like that it's balanced on its own without an intelligent person on the other side going like, okay. Well, not intelligent. I mean intelligent as in like not a game engine, right?
Yeah. So like if it was a video game, you know.
Yeah, exactly. The levels need to be designed according to like who's going into them, or at least adjusted a little bit. So if you have a super suboptimal group, which is usually the case, then maybe like regular CR doesn't make sense, depending on how you're running the monsters.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The only Unearthed Arcana I've ever played, and I really enjoyed it, was the Tempest Barbarian.
Oh yeah.
And that got published. And the published version is pretty similar. I think it might be even a little better. Or no, it's the Storm Herald. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Storm Herald's cool too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have any Unearthed Arcana you like don't like? Like Unearthed Arcana, you're like, that's dumb. I don't want it.
I don't know it well enough to have problems with it.
And they killed it anyways. It's done. So I mean, like in a recent, like not even recent, it was a little while ago. They put, it was in the errata that they were updating the PHB with. They were like, and Mystic is not getting any. We're not writing that anymore. But then they made the new subclasses for Tasha's that are psionics, and that is way better, way more interesting. Doesn't need to be its own class. Psionics are just a little thing, and they made some, and that's fine. But the Mystic was a 38-page PDF with its own spells that were just better than Wizard, and oh god, I hated it.
Your D&D characters should not have access to the internet. It's the joke I always say.
That was like an ability they had. They could just Google. Like, you can go to this network of other mystics and just ask questions, and it's like, huh? What?
That's cool. Listen, I did look at the psionic stuff, and I think there was a villain that I had that had some psionic stuff from the Unearthed Arcana, and it was broken, but it was interesting.
I will agree, it is definitely interesting.
Here's the thing though. What I wish is that the different classes had more substantially different spell pools. So instead of having these two different kinds of casters, or the three different, which would be like arcane, divine, and psionic. Mm-hmm. And psionic always gets tacked on and is super confusing. It would be cool to like take that energy and instead, and also maybe, okay, this might not be a popular opinion, but also it might be worth it to fucking, the high level spells don't make any sense to me. High level play in D&D doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like there's a whole lot of design that goes into it, and nobody ever sees it. It would be interesting if some of the effort that goes into that went into like more separate spell lists where every one of the casters feels super different.
Yeah. I agree.
But
and I think we talked about that on Animated Spellbook, where I was saying that I kind of wish there were more kind of sorcerer only spells, because it would make them feel different than playing a wizard, or just like it's already different. There's meta magic and all that cool stuff. But like the Chaos Bolt alone is so interesting, and I feel a good portion of it is that only sorcerers can cast it, and it's like that's their weird spell that they get, and that's cool. Meanwhile, wizards can just do fucking everything, and it's maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that wizards can just cast everything, but nah.
Well, yeah. So the interesting, the tricky thing with wizards is that, it makes sense for them to have these huge spell lists, but because they have a massive spell list and they also have a decent amount of spell slots a day, they're really, really good. And it's tricky. I think sorcerers are really, really good too, though. I feel like even though that balance is an illusion, like sorcerers feel really powerful. I mean, most classes when you play them feel really powerful, especially, and that's something that they did really right, is anytime I say that a class sucks, there will be a huge contingent of people who are like, I play that class and it does not suck. It's the best class in the game.
The three paragraph, this is why. Like, here's my character. Here's the big epic bad guy I killed and the 300 damage I did. And I'm like, oh, okay, I believe you.
Yeah, sorry. And yes, we may have been using these optional rules, and also my DM gave me an incredible magic weapon, but that has nothing to do with the class. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing at all. Yeah, you definitely didn't have a skewed thing there that your DM gave you that made it more fun. Yeah. Which is just what you should do in the first place, if you want your players to feel cool and feel powerful, and if they're playing a class that's like a little bit crappier, like maybe you're playing a ranger beastmaster and the beastmaster kind of sucks, maybe amp up that beast a little bit and just make them feel really cool. That's always more fun than just being like, I guess I suck now.
I've heard a lot, and this is an example of maybe the opposite of, like, I've heard that they're very bad, that rangers are bad, but they've done very well in most of the games that I've run. But
yeah,
that's just
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I think it's just because I like the themes around it. So I'll go like, okay, let's make what do I have to do to make this class feel really good in the adventure?
Yes.
And hilariously, in some cases, it's taking away class features.
Yeah.
And then being like, okay, let's make it feel like you have to earn these things when you're out in the wilderness, and then make it
Yes.
easier for the ranger to earn them, instead
yeah.
of just going like, fuck.
Yeah,
survival."
exactly. You want to play to your players, and
Yeah.
you also want to make adventures that they can participate in as well. And it may feel like, oh well, if my party didn't have a ranger, they wouldn't be tracking. I would just let them figure it out. But they don't know that. It's still cool for you to add it in there anyways. It's still going to be fun. I love rangers. I think they're great. I just think that the original and the PHB, the subclasses are kind of poopy, and I think that they've done a really great job with Tasha's and Xanathar's guide, making them feel different and interesting. You've got things like Monster Hunter and the Swarm Keeper one, and they're really, really cool. So I think Rangers have been improved on in their subclasses.
I've heard Gloomstalker is really fun to play too.
Gloomstalker's cool too. It's like, do you want to kind of be a rogue, but also you don't get all the rogue-like abilities? You can like ambush and turn invisible. I think it's really interesting, and it's like an Underdark Ranger sort of, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. So, you have any Unearthed Arcana you don't like?
I don't think so.
No?
Like I said, I don't really read it, so
That's true. Yeah.
I just hear some things through the internet, or like Colton will be like, "This is cool," and that's all I hear.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's the end.
Oh.
Is it?